So over the weekend, I posted a video of our 911 GT3 that we have for sale, and I said that name a better track and daily car than the 911 GT3. Someone at the time commented, I have since deleted the comment, but they said the Alfa Romeo 4C is a much better daily and track car than the GT3. And I thought, you know what? Let's test that theory. So today I'm going to go on a drive in the Alfa Romeo 4C that we have. I'm not going to take it on the track because obviously I don't have access to a track here in good old Moxville, North Carolina. But I'm going to test the street ability of an Alfa Romeo 4C, see how comfortable it is, and see the practical use of an Alfa Romeo 4C for everyday life, and also see if it's good for you. So let's go ahead and take a look around the car, and then we're going to end this video with some driving footage. So right off the bat, the Alfa Romeo 4C is definitely a funky looking Italian car. Now, a lot of people refer this car as the baby 488 or a baby Ferrari, which I don't 100% think it's earned that title yet. A lot of people think it's a sports car. A lot of people also think it's a supercar. Regardless, I just am going to call this a sports car because it is truly something sporty looking. It is something unique, and you can track it and get good power out of it for the relative size and weight of this car. This car is also a convertible, so you can take that top off. Now, looking at the wheels, you do have Pirelli P0 tires surrounding these. These are 205 in the front, and then you have 235 tires in the back, which is really impressive for a car of this size. You can see those dimple brakes in there, as well as it's a pretty good size caliper on this car. Now, just driving it here really quickly, I noticed tons of good braking power as well as handling. Now, I'm going to get to the driving footage later so I can really give you guys an honest and good review of this car. You'll see on the outside you've got tons of carbon fiber like this mirror. You have a carbon fiber piece right here. Good ventilation to get air into the radiators to cool the car off immediately. Obviously, the engine is back here, as well as the trunk space. Now, there is no true trunk space in this area. It's all used for the car. Now, is that a little bit concerning for something that is supposed to be better than a 911 GT3 as far as streetability? It's a little bit concerning, but we're going to see really quickly what that trunk looks like. But looking at this interior from outside, you do have a pretty steep gap to get into and submerge yourself into the car. Now, this car doesn't have a true parking brake. It's a lot like, say, a Lotus, where you just have to put it in neutral and then you pop the e-brake on, which is no big deal. But just something to keep in mind. Never mind the suction cup mount, by the way. That is for the camera for in-camera footage. Now, it's a pretty good interior. It's pretty sporty. And you'll notice heavily how much carbon fiber this car really has. The entire bucket inside has carbon fiber. You've got carbon fiber on the dash display, as well as the center console area, and we'll get a closer look at that later. But just a really nice, clean, and simple interior that's very sporty. Now, one major thing right off the bat, it's got cup holders. It's got one cup holder right here, and then you can also put a Starbucks Grande cup right there. So that's a really good start for street and everyday use. Now, popping open this trunk area, this is where you've got the inline four banger right there, as well as the intake that routes right there, and you're going to hear just how loud this engine can be. Now, you do have your trunk space right there, which is actually really small in comparison to, say, a 911 GT3 again. That's going to be the car that I really base this car off of, because again, someone on the internet said that this was better than a GT3, which I beg to differ. Let's go ahead, stop talking now. Let's go ahead and go for a drive and see what it's like to drive this car through the town of Moxville all the way back to the dealership. It's a little bit cramped to get in here, but honestly, I have a ton of headroom. Just noticing right off the bat, I've got a ton of good headroom for this Alfa Romeo 4C, which again, for reference, I am 5'11", almost 6 foot tall. So having good headroom, pretty decent reach around room, that's good. We're off to a good start. This car only has 8,700 miles on it, so it is a baby, and it's ready for a really big life ahead. As I noted earlier, you're going to be able to hear the intake bringing in that cool air right there. It's sitting right next to the passenger side, so for those that are curious, that is the intake sound. Those guys have no idea. I do love hearing that, and for a four banger, it sounds really cool. But again, this car only has 235 horsepower to the wheels, so it's nothing crazy fast. But because of how lightweight this car is and how nimble it is, it does feel pretty quick. Does feel pretty quick around the corners. Alright, Alfa. So that's just getting up to speed. It's literally getting up to 50 miles an hour for the road. It sounds pretty good. Obviously, it sounded a little bit like it was breaking up, but I think that's just because of how the road is. I think it was bumping it a little bit. I can't really hear myself think. Now, it's one of those noises. It's not like a white noise, but it's something you can get used to. Like, for example, when you have a loud exhaust and you just become numb to it, that's what I feel like this noise could be, or could become. Now, this car does have an Akrapovic exhaust on it, which sounds pretty good, but just from the inside, it's trying to hear what it sounds like. Because again, I primarily hear that intake system right next to my ear. Now, I am noticing this car is absorbing every single bump and crack in the road, which it's not a bad thing, but I'm comparing it to my experience with a 911 GT3, for example, and I noticed that that car does not absorb. You can kind of feel, hopefully this video you can kind of get a sense of what I'm feeling right now. The gauge display is very centralized, so I kind of like that. I can see my miles per hour and see how fast I'm going right off the bat. Now, this car, one of the main reasons that you're going to hear every single crack and feel every bump is that because this shell is carbon fiber, like we went over earlier. The suspension is also very, very stiff on this car. This car is meant for roads more like Tail of the Dragon and open country roads. It's not really recommended for city driving, in my opinion, but we're gonna see what the internet has to say, because I think this car is better than the GT3 for daily use, but okay. So far, it's pretty smooth driving. Nothing too bad. These seats do absorb a lot of the bumps and whatnot in the road. And they're actually pretty comfortable seats. These aren't power seats at all. They are all manual seats. So, but for manual sport bucket seats, these are actually pretty comfortable. And again, I've got plenty of room. The only thing that's pretty tough right now is my visibility. Now, I don't know if you guys can see right there. That's where my blind spot would be, and I can't see out of that. And that kind of makes me nervous about switching lanes and how I'm driving, because I have to be more aware of what's in front of me in order for me to anticipate switching lanes, if that makes sense. I feel like a kid just driving that thing. Alright, so initial thoughts on driving this car. I think it's very, very sporty and it's a fun little go-kart. Do I think it's practical for daily driving? For me, no. I would probably still pick a 911 GT3, to be honest with you. I do think for the price point of this car right now, I think it's a really, really good car for both. If you're only able to have one car in your garage and you want something that is good for the track but also has good driving potential for everyday use, definitely a head turner as well. I think the 4C is a very good option, ranked up against say a 911 or a Cayman, for example. I think it's a really, really good option to keep. I do highly recommend you guys come check this out. We do have this one for sale. I see the fun in this car and I see the potential, but with a full carbon fiber shell, not a lot of sound deadening, not very good visibility. Overall, I don't see myself being able to daily drive this car. Now, there's some people out there who can daily drive this car, and to them, I say, good on you. Another reason I didn't want to choose this car 100% to be a daily and track car, there's no damn storage in the car. I only have access to the trunk, and there's barely a trunk to work with. There's no space. There's no storage space inside the car. And what I'm going to assume is that Alfa really saw this as a track car with the option to take it out for a daily cruise. Now, it's probably not meant to have cup holders or have tons of storage, because they kept the track end of this car in mind versus daily driving it. But again, to each their own. For just daily driving around town, it's not my cup of tea, but that's just me. I'm going to end it here, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a huge thumbs up. Again, if you're curious about the Alfa Romeo 4C, I've left the link in the description below so you can check out more photos. and get in contact with our team about picking up this Alfa today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.